Okay, so now I want to talk about the poetic symbolization, that I have divined from the symbol that is John Mayer's sweat. Why? Because I think it's funny. And also because it led me on a journey making these weird connections, led me on a journey to discover the true meaning of a miracle. Bear with me. So, back on Thanksgiving of 2015 or 16, I don't remember which year, it was my junior year of high school, I was in Vegas and my friends had gone to see, Dead and Company at the MGM Grand, and I didn't have a ticket. So then we went again the next night to just see if we could get in. I think we had tickets, but they were misplaced, and we were going to maybe try and get a third ticket for me. I don't know what happened. Somehow all the tickets got disappeared, and me and my two friends, we were, out of luck. Except the very nice lady at the ticket booth said, "You know what? You guys, I think I have a feeling you're meant to be in there. So here you go. Here's 3 free nosebleed tickets." So we were seated literally third to the last row, all the way in the back. And I was like, I have a theory. So I went down and I walked down and I left my two friends to do their little thing. And I went to the security guard and I just pretended. Maybe this wasn't a good idea. I don't know. I was kind of I was dramatic. So I pretended that I needed water from my dad. But really, I just wanted to see what the pit was like. And the security guard was like, "Okay, leave me your jacket." And then I was like, "Okay." So I just went all the way to the front. He let me into the pit and I pretended to look for my dad. But really, I just went straight to the very front and I just stared at John Mayer, who is kind of my dad. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, great. Just I feel like I have a profound connection with John Mayer across the space-time continuum, and this is also a part of what that means, because at a Grateful Dead show, if you don't have a ticket, you can ask for a miracle, and a lot of people are in the habit of giving out show tickets. So we got miracled by the institution, so that was kind of fun. And so I went all the way to the front. I saw him sing Casey Jones, which is my favorite, and he was just, and then I left. I watched him do the one song, and somehow he's playing my favorite song, and I just was right there, literally face to face, me, just like that SpongeBob meme. My friend Coco will know what I'm talking about. Don't get sidetracked, Jenna. This is an important story. So then I went back to the security guard and I got my jacket, and the other security guard gave him $5. I guess they had made a bet on whether or not I would come back, or to see if I was they knew that they were testing me. And I somehow passed the test, and they're like, "All right, you know what? You want to hang out in the pit for the rest of the show? You just can't." And I was like, "What? Okay." And I was like, "Can I go get my two friends?" And then he was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And he was like, I've never done this before." And so we literally got into the pit and we were there for the whole rest of the show, and it was so magical. I love John Mayer. So you'd think that oh, that's cool. That's a cool one-time thing. Wrong, because this is now repeatable, okay? This is how because fast forward, the last touring of the last show of Dead and Company ever touring, okay? It's at Oracle Park, okay? San Francisco. Second to last show. I was at the one on the Saturday night. And I'm walking around with 3 of my friends, and we're trying to get miracled, but there's a lot of people and they're all trying to get miracled, and nobody got me. I didn't see anybody, and we were there all day walking around, but we were walking around, And then so everybody just stood outside the gates. Once the show started, we all just gathered together right outside of the gates. And I remember everybody, there was just this energy. People were so antsy. People were so, they just, there was a lot of talk about, hating that money is the reason why that they're not going to be able to see, their, all-time favorite show. There were old deadheads there that, they'd, the Shakedown Street was crazy. And so I remember just, John Mayer just went into this, crazy solo, and I just sat down and I sat and just meditated, literally ohmed, and literally just for the entire solo I just totally dropped in and connected with him, and I literally went outside of space and time. And then somebody like just said my name, like Jenna. And so I stood up, and I remember I just felt like I was like, I don't know, like somebody had just like readjusted my spine or something. And I just stood up, and I was just smiling. And this guy looked at me, and I was right at the front of the gate. And he looked at me, and he said, "Should I break open the gate now?" And I was like, "What?" Because I had just been at Mount Shasta, and I had just been like talking about breaking open the floodgates. And he looked at me, and he asked me, nobody else. Everybody else was talking, like complaining a little bit, but also like just there was a lot of energy. And like he just looked at me, and he goes, "Should I break open the gate now?" And I just didn't even like, I just looked at him with wide eyes, and I just nodded. All I had to do was nod. And he literally somehow just broke open the gate, and everybody flooded in. There were security guards that were literally like beating the shit out of some people, and I lost all my friends, and I just bobbed and weaved all the way to the front of the pit again. And there I was watching John Meyer sweat, like 9 years later, or like 8 years later, something like that. And I was just like, wow, miracles, that's what they meant.